Wilson Alexander is one of our favorite guests. He knows all about LSU baseball. One of the great reads is the 3 takeaways each Monday that Wilson publishes, or a Sunday, depending on the start date of the series. But this was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday that LSU took from Alabama as they bludgeoned the Tide on Sunday at the box. A lot of people performing, including Drewbianco, who's got a good write-up within those 3 bulleted storylines from Wilson over at The Advocate. He's back with us here this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Oh, you had me nervous during the break,
Sounds like we're in cell phone jail, bro. Are you good?
Hell.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah! There he is. How we feeling, buddy? Good morning. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Premature.
Yes, it might be. All right, Drewbianco, you talked about him in your storylines from the weekend. He seems like he has solidified that spot at second base. What does he mean to the offense right now?
He's been a huge boost to them over the last couple of weeks. He's batting about 310 since he was inserted into the starting lineup back against ULM on April 20th. He's given them a lot. That position had been LSU's last unsettled position on the field. It had been Zach Arnold. It had been Tyler Cranford. I mean, at the beginning of the season, it was Kate Doty, and then, Mainieri switched things around, and they just hadn't gotten anything from that offensively on a consistent basis. And they were struggling to find something defensively at times. Drew's given them the whole package. He's played really consistent defense. There was a couple plays yesterday where Mainieri thought he looked like a Gold Glover, and he's swung the bat pretty well. I mean, he's not lighting the world on fire with his bat, but to give them, about a 300 batting average with 3 home runs over the last month, that's been huge for them to give a lot of balance throughout the lineup, have a bit of a power presence, and have someone pretty reliable in there. Drew also, he just gets on base. He just finds ways to get on base, and when he does, he plays really, really hard. He's a good base runner. You don't necessarily think it from just looking at him standing there, but he's pretty fast, really athletic, and just makes plays.
15 straight games he's been on base as Bianco, and as Wilson said, he scored 4 runs on Sunday. How crucial was this weekend for LSU?
This was absolutely vital. LSU had to have this one for a couple. Obviously, they could have still reached 13 SEC wins possibly if they had lost this series, but then gone and swept Texas A&M. But it's really hard to sweep a team on the road. LSU hasn't swept the conference team this year, so it's more realistic and feasible for them to try to get 2 against Alabama at home, and then 2 or maybe even 3 against Texas A&M on the road next weekend. And the other thing about it is that Alabama is also one of these bubble teams, and so they really needed to have that sort of tiebreaker head-to-head edge over Alabama come, tournament selection time. And they got that, and they got themselves up to 11 wins, 2 more or 3 more here by the end of the season, and they'll be in good shape for the conference tournament. They had to have this one, and they got it.
Going back to Bianco for just a second, Paul Mainieri was very vocal about putting him in the lineup despite, maybe not having the skins on the wall that he would need to be an LSU starter. Do you think that just voted confidence maybe let him kind of play his game as opposed to looking over his shoulder a little bit?
Yeah. Drew's feeling really confident up there. He said he's been able to relax. He was pressing at the start of the year, just trying to get a spot in the lineup. He was sort of stressing himself out, trying to prove to himself that he had made the right decision a little bit. And to have that confidence from his coach, know he's going to be playing every day. That's helped him relax a little bit, and then you're seeing the results from it. He's finally looking like the player here in year 3 that LSU originally recruited, and someone who has started multiple opening days but never been able to hold on to a spot in the lineup. It's finally come around for him. He's got that confidence. He looks relaxed, and he's playing like it.
Hey, Wilson, how dominant was Marce's performance on Friday?
It wasn't his best start of the year. We've seen him pitch much better than that, but it was perhaps his most clutch, or maybe one of his most impressive, because Alabama was getting hits, a lot of them weak singles, nothing crazy, but they were on base, and he was just continually pitching out of it. He gave up 11 hits, which I think might have been a season high, and he still threw about 6 shutout innings. He was fantastic in what might have been his last start at the box. He gave LSU exactly what it needed, which was a shutout performance in a game that was really tight. It was just incredible to watch him escape as much as he did throughout his start.
Hilliard's been absolutely dominant lately, especially as a starter. Where has this come from? He's just been brilliant as a starter. I think he's won every single game as a starter so far.
Yeah, he not quite every game because they wasted one of his starts last weekend against Auburn. In that 2-1 loss. But other than that, but yeah, he has been fantastic. Got like about a 2.60 ERA in 3 starts. And he said that he's pitched with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder just because he, has sort of been counted out for the last few years. He lost his spot in the rotation. He was in the bullpen and not really a guy that was doing too much in that role. Finally got his chance here again as a starter, and he's just taking it and run with it. And he doesn't want to let it go. And you can see his curveball has been fantastic. He's complementing it well with his fastball. I mean, he hadn't been pitching great when he was getting his opportunities over the last couple of years, but now he is. And it's been exactly what LSU needs to solidify that third starter spot here down the stretch. They hadn't had that ever since Jaden got hurt, and McHale's just been phenomenal, giving LSU 3 great quality starts over the last 3 weeks. If he can keep that up, and they have a trio with him and AJ and Landon, they're going to be formidable if they can make it into the postseason.
As you mentioned this morning in the Advocates pickup in the sports section, if you want to read the 3 points from the weekend, that LSU's in a really good spot in the SEC tournament as they have a 3-game lead over Auburn and hold a tiebreaker in that head-to-head. So they should be in the field in Hoover. What do they need to do to get into the field of 64 from this point?
It's hard to say exactly just because, there's so many factors with teams around the country. But like Kendall Rogers, a well-respected writer on D1 Baseball, national guy, thinks that if LSU can get to 13, because of its RPI being so high, that's at 18 or 19 right now in the country, which is the highest for one of these bubble teams. They're going to be in good shape. They've also got a super strong strength of schedule. They're going to have a lot on their resume, even though they don't necessarily have the SEC record, to give them a argument for getting into the field. I think, and I sort of think similarly, if they can get to 13, they'll definitely be in a good spot going into Hoover, and then if they can make a little bit of a run there, win 2, maybe 3 games, then they should feel, fairly confident going into that selection Monday. You're never going to know for sure when you're on the bubble until those games actually come out, the selections actually come out. But and also, I mean, they haven't swept an SEC series this year, but if they can do that here in the final weekend on the road at Texas A&M, then they're in, because they'll be at 14 SEC wins.
Does it feel like some of this Mainieri magic that he usually pulls out in the later part of the season is coming to life here?
Yeah, a little bit. He always says that, around tax day, there goes LSU. Well, tax day was delayed this year until May 17th, and so maybe so was LSU's hot run. It does feel like it a little bit. He is known for getting his teams to play their best at the end of the season, and though LSU has not had the year that it is used to, it is playing its best here at the end of the season.
Thank you, as always, for waking up with us with the information, man. Wilson Alexander, a great follow on Twitter for LSU Baseball, and as he said, coming down the stretch, Tigers feel like they might be getting hot at the right time, so going to be an interesting story to stay on top of. Thank you, as always.
You're welcome, Jordy. Y'all have a great day.
Yes, sir.